Alright, I was rudely interrupted by my camera running out of space on that last one, so this is part 2 of pentatonic type blues shapes for playing 12-bar blues. I was halfway through or right in the middle of showing all the different, the way that you can use the 3 different types of shapes, what we call our F shape sort of, and our kind of D shape with a 7 in it, and a bar shape with a 7 in it. And I'd gone through basically G7, C7, and D7, and kind of showed how you can use those individually. And I think I had gotten to this one. Now the next one, I lost track of where I was, so I hope I'm not being redundant here, is this one. There's your G with a 9 in it, 3, 7, 9, 1. Again, I know I've said this a million times before, but the 3 and the 7 in the chord form for a dominant chord, and for really any chord, but a dominant chord in particular, is really important because it creates that tension. This one is, so 3, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5. Now it's the same one up here. C. The next one, I guess, would be this. Again, nice bar. I could have done it down here, but I'll do it up here. And again, that's your G. And that's the kind of last one. I'll review those again. Here's 1, 6, 7, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 7, 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 2, 3, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 3, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 7, 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. And then you're back up. Now each one of those shapes you can play on a G-based, C-based, or D-based. And they come in really handy. As in most of my videos, what I did just then was I showed you how to play the same shape over all 3 chords. This time I'm going to play, I'm going to noodle around a little bit and use just those shapes that I just showed you. What were there again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and yeah, and you're back to the first one again. So 6 shapes. Those 6 shapes, you can play them on any dominant chord, and they're really helpful. It even, you know, I just showed it by playing the same shape on each chord of the blues, but then when you learn to visualize them again, all of them, all 6 of them in one part of the fingerboard, you can play through a lot of changes that way. I'll just play basically through the blues, and I'll start with whatever. I'm just going to play G, one of those 6 shapes, C, 7, one of those 6 shapes, D7, kind of through a bluesy type thing. A 1, 2, maybe 1, 2, 3. So you can see you can move around quite a bit if you can visualize those chord shapes. Now, the last part of the lesson really is using those exact same chord shapes to do tritone substitutions. And those tritone substitutions are where the sound of an altered chord comes from, at least in part, and in large part, by my ear. And what we're going to do is we're going to play through blue. Again, I'm not going to noodle so much, but try to show you how you use these to get from one chord to the next in a blues thing, using the altered sound of each chord to get to the next chord. What I mean by that is, if we're playing this shape, here's your G7. What I'm seeing now, I'm getting ready to go to the C7 chord, right, which is here. But I'm going to go up a half step and play that shape. And it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go back to the G chord, but to do that, I'm going to play, that's where I'm headed, I'm going to play to get back to the G chord. I'm going to start at the beginning, I'm going to play the altered chord into the C chord, then the altered chord back into the G chord. And again, all I'm thinking is a half step up, dominant, from the chord I'm headed towards. So here it is again, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing a bad job. Here, I'm not gonna play it in time. Here's the sound. G, your C sharp 7 to C7. Going back to the G. Hear how that works? So that's basically that sound. So here it is. I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but the idea is I'm using these dominant shapes. I'm seeing the chord shape before I get to the next chord, and then I'm playing that dominant pentatonic, if you will, shape to get to the next tone. So if I were playing G7 up here, and I want to go to the C7, well, I'm going to play. See how I played the G sharp to get into that back to the G chord. Now I'm getting ready to go to a D chord, right? So what am I going to play? Back to the G, back to the C, back to the G, back to the D. See how that works? And it works in any section of the fingerboard. G, C, going to the C chord, going back to the G, going to a D chord, back to G, back to the C, back to the G, back to the D. Isn't that cool? Anyway, it's just all of that together is basically learn those dominant pentatonic shapes, learn where they are all over the fingerboard. All 6 of those shapes, did we say they were? Yes, 6 of those shapes. And learn how to associate them with the chord that they go with. And then start to visualize, as you're playing the blues, whatever chord you're headed to, play a half step up dominant pentatonic type shape to get into that, and you're going to start to hear a lot of those jazz licks that the beboppers used and that even Latin jazz players used. It's that altered 5-chord sound, and I hope that was at least moderately instructive.